This is the Flavor of Leadership podcast. I am your host, Clint Hoops. Together, we explore the unique blend of leadership wisdom that helps top leaders consistently achieve work goals, develop personally, and find fulfillment with family. Let's get started. This is Flavor of Leadership, episode number 41. This week in our town, kids are heading back to school. So it's that time of year again. It's crazy. I can almost barely believe that it is already time for the kids to go back to school. Our kids, we really enjoy having them at home and having a chance to be able to do more fun things during the summer. And it's kind of crazy, but they're excited to go back to school. And so we're excited for them. I'm actually really grateful that my kids love to go to school and they love to learn. And I think that's a big testament to their teachers and just amazing people that make it such a fun place for them to learn. You know, as I think about back to school right now, and my wife, she's been taking the kids, school shopping, and they come home with new shoes and outfit for the first day of school and newly sharpened pencils and crayons and all that kind of stuff. And it's really fun for those younger ones. My oldest daughter, she is actually in intermediate school. And so she no longer gets new crayons for school. She's more worried about the clothes she has and, the cool notebooks and that kind of stuff for her friends. And it's fun, but it's fun. It's fun to see her get ready. And, she's discussing her school schedule with her friends over the phone and just talking about who's in what class and what teacher they have and what period they have it and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a fun time of year to see people excited, kids excited and a chance to be challenged. And once again, for me, when I think of school year, I almost feel like it's the first of the year again, like the full first of the calendar year, like a new year. Gives us a chance to kind of reset, chance to change our habits and think again. Because just like our kids or grandkids or whoever it is in our lives that's going to school, it kind of changes up the world. It changes up our routines. Even driving to work sometimes, it changes. You go through a school zone, everything just kind of changes in the world as kids all go back to school. I find that when there's big changes in your routine, those are the best opportunities to make a change. We have a chance to make some decisions on things in our lives that have been sitting there. Kind of a time of new beginnings. It's a time to reflect and think, okay, how is our progress going towards our annual goals? The ones that we set at the first of the year. How are we going at this point? Are we well on our way? Are we well behind? Can we even remember what our goals are at this point or what they were at the beginning of the year? Is it time to start over, revamp them? At our company, we're already talking about our projections for next year. We want to have time to ramp up and to be able to start the year off right and have things so that we know where we want to be. And that may change depending on your industry and what you're doing, but those are what we're talking about. Are there any new goals? Maybe more short-term goals that you're focused on with things kind of changing your routine in your personal life? Are there some personal goals that this would be a good time to do that, to make that change? What do you intentionally want to change in your life or with yourself? What part of your life or your leadership is not aligned with what you want it to be? Do you want to be a little bit different as an individual or as a leader? Is there something about your leadership that's bothered you that, this is the time to make the change? Is there someone that you lead in your team that needs your extra help? And maybe this is the time to reevaluate and see how you can help them just a little bit better. With the school year starting, it actually takes me back and makes me think to some times when I was in school. I think about when I was in 6th grade and where I lived, which is where I live now, here in southern Utah, the way that school was set up, and it's different now, but back when I was in school, we had what was called the 6th grade center. So when we were in 6th grade, all of the 6th graders from all over the town would come together. So we had several different high schools, and there were a bunch of different elementary schools. And all of the elementary schools, when you graduated, if you can say graduated, when you left 5th grade, you would go to the 6th grade center. And so it was one school where all of the kids from all over our town would come. And it was a great thing because there were kids that I never knew. Kids that would end up later going to all of the other high schools in the area. It was a chance to meet so many of those friends, and it was kind of a unique situation. But it was similar to middle school in that you didn't have just one school teacher all day long. You had, multiple class periods, right? So you'd have, a math class, a science class, a social studies class, or whatever it was. And so that's how school worked. And so it was kind of fun to have that little bit different style than it was in elementary school. And so I recall when I was in 6th grade, I remember one of my teachers that I got, she was a new teacher, and her name was Miss Dinning. And I'm hoping that, there are some people from my hometown that do listen to the podcast, and I know that some of them had Miss Dinning. And so I hope when you hear this, you can remember her with me here. And you may, having went to school somewhere else, have a teacher just like this. And I bet you, as I go through who Miss Dinning was and how she was, that it'll bring someone in your life to your remembrance. So Miss Dinning, she was not married. She did, however, have an adopted son, Chris, who is an amazing man that still lives here with his family here in our town. But she did also call us, her students, her kids as well. And she treated us like it too. She expected performance. She expected respect to her and to each other, and integrity above all else. She even had us memorize a special quote that coordinated with each of the letters of the word integrity. She helped us to do things that were hard and helped us see that accomplishing difficult things can be worthwhile. She asked us for our sports schedules and would take the time to come to our sports games, choir concerts, dance recitals. Whatever was important to us was important to her. She even promised to be to our graduations, right? And in 6th grade, it seemed like that would be forever away. But she did. She was there. She was there at our graduations. She even took the time to come to mine and my wife Angie's wedding reception years later. She even helped so many people around her in her own life, even ones that weren't her students. Miss Dinning helped us see what we could become, and she challenged and expected us to accomplish it. And you really never wanted to let her down. Sadly, my teacher, Miss Dinning, she died way too young at the age of 56 back in 2017. And many former students like me were in attendance at her funeral, and she is still missed to this day. As I reflect on Miss Dinning, every time school year, I always think of Miss Dinning. And I know that there are other teachers in schools all over that do things differently than Miss Dinning. May not be the exact same special things that I just described that Miss Dinning did, but they are equally impactful on their students. And they have a desire to be better and to achieve. I know the same thing is true for so many companies where there are special leaders seeking to have a similar impact on those that they lead, striving to challenge them to be even better than they thought possible, improving both their performance and also their happiness at work. There are people all around us seeking to do that. And that's when I self-reflect at these times and think, okay, how am I doing with that? Am I continuing to challenge myself? Am I challenging those that I lead? So let's take this time to reflect. And also, let's take the time also to this time of year to support and show gratitude for the teachers in your life and those of your family and friends. If you have any stories similar to what I just described with my teacher, Miss Dinning, I would so appreciate if you take the time to share some of them with me. I would, of your great teachers or great leaders that have made a huge impact in your life. I would love to share them in a future episode. So please send those to me at Clint CLINT, at flavorofleadership.com, or go ahead and just message me on LinkedIn or Facebook, and they'll get to me. So grateful for all of you for taking the time to listen today. And as always, until next week. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of the Flavor of Leadership podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast player. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback for us, you can reach me directly at flavorofleadership.com. Thanks for listening.